of us has seen the flashy debates of modern day people who try to defend positions. And term is loosely called apologetics. Apologetics is basically the art of defending a position, but more specifically, a religious belief. Um, Apologetics has usually been applied as, in some ways, a derogatory term to any form of scholarship that is kind of deemed to be having a purpose at the end of it. It doesn't seem to be letting the facts speak for itself, but bending the facts to defend a position that you've already conceived. And kind of the impression that the viewer or the listener observes is that you need to kind of cover something up or explain something away, make the position tenable so people can believe it, so you can continue believing in what you believe in. And in some ways, this impression isn't completely isn't false. It seems that people have a good reason to be skeptical of certain people. For instance, modern day apologetics has had a very you've seen it a lot on maybe televangelist stations throughout the America especially. And you can see they're very highly sensational, kind of a pseudo-intellectual basis for their arguments. And oftentimes they're not really scholars, but kind of enthusiasts who try to play off that they know exactly what they're talking about. We've seen other people such as Zakir Naik, who is, I mean, he does know quite a bit of information, but he's not a scholar, and many times he tries to portray himself as more knowledgeable than I think he is, and he tries to act very sensational with many facts. That is probably detrimental to his the Islam in general. But there are other kinds that have emerged more recently and have been going on for quite a few centuries. But just a few modern examples I can give you. For instance, for Christians, you have William Lane Craig, you had the late C.S. Lewis. Maybe for today, for Muslims, we have Shabir Ali or other such figures. But apologetics really doesn't seem like it's has to be as childish as it's often portrayed. Really, apologetics is defending a position. So if you're defending a position, well, scientists and scholars of all sorts do that. Except apologetics is given kind of that name that you kind of have a feeling what it really is. Um, Basically, the whole job of an apologist should be to provide reasons for why they believe a belief is rational or reasonable. So, who does apologetics exactly? Isn't it the followers of the certain belief, right? Well, for Muslims, I don't quite think this is exactly true. I think that the Quran acts as our light and guide. It should not be explained away or covered up or for those who want to modify it for their own purposes. They're really fooling themselves and weakening the Quranic arguments as it stands. Oftentimes, Muslims have tried to manipulate verses in the Quran to say things they're not meant to be saying, or they often try to bend a position to fit the terms of their society. Some might try to act more liberal or more conservative. Some try to promote acts of violence, while others promote absolute pacifism. Um, However, many of the positions they defend seem very alien to the Quran and Islam in general, and the prophetic tradition. Um, so, it might sound strange to you that the Quran should be our main source of defense, but I still believe that the whole concept of dawah, which is propagation, explanation, and proving many of the tenets of the Islamic belief, it should definitely be done and taken a very scholarly undertaking. No doubt that we need to explore what the Quran is actually saying and to make sure other people understand what it's saying as well. And now, does this seem that it's alien to the prophetic tradition as well? I don't believe so. I think that even within the Prophet ﷺ's life, you see that he engaged in many discourses with people, not to mention the pagan Arabs around him, but even Christians at the event of Mubahala. Mubahala means mutual cursing. And this is a very interesting moment actually in the Prophet ﷺ's life, where he actually engages in an argument, but at the same time when he's arguing, he puts many stakes on the line. He doesn't simply come by himself when he argues. He actually brought his family with him, and he actually invoked curses on his family as well, to show how confident he was in his argument and to how sure he was of this guidance that he had. And after seeing this, many of the Christians from Najran, they actually decided to submit to the Prophet, and they decided to not engage in argument with him. Um, so you can even see this in the Quranic position as well. You can see that the Quran provides reasons for its belief in a certain tenet, or it actually defends certain beliefs around it by using appeal to logic or intuition. Now, in order to correct the current state of apologetics or defense of a particular belief in general, I think that what we should do is first identify what the problems are. So the main problems, I would say, are they make arguments look very unacademic and untenable, so that it's only for the people who are uneducated who can hold to these seemingly irrational proofs and beliefs. Another thing is the use of circular arguments or lacking scholarly support, that using reasoning that simply just doesn't follow, or giving people not a very good reason to believe something. And another thing is to distort religious belief through polemics and rhetoric. It seems that people have been trying to cover up or explain away many of the beliefs that have been growing very difficult, and that it really shouldn't be done that way. If you're really trying to defend a belief, it should be presented as it is. And I think the best way to correct it is to show how Islam really is. You shouldn't have to cover it up. You should be able to show what it is and not be embarrassed by it. And if you really believe that it's the truth, then you shouldn't try to distort it. So the best way to correct it is to show it how it actually is, for it will actually be rejected or accepted based on what it is, not exactly what people say.
وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ